Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the Resumption by Chief Judge Jeb Boasberg of the D.C. District Court of contempt proceedings, or at least contempt investigation, based on the whole squirrely, evasive, and possibly flat-out contemptuous behavior of the administration way back when in March. I think this is actually an important story, and it really speaks well for Boseberg, and there's some very interesting legal intricacies as well. Okay, just a few days ago, the D.C. Circuit issued a ruling that finally gave a green light to Boseberg. He had been suspended from doing it for many months. I'm going to get back to that ruling in a moment and explain its sort of intricacy and cleverness. But it comes back to Boseberg, who now is again enabled to proceed with a contempt investigation, not to find probable cause. That's been sort of set to the side, but to investigate. Now, remember when this happened. We're talking March 15th, and the first really alarming signs of flat-out insubordination, and we may just have to say fuck you to the courts by now Circuit Court of Appeals Judge Emile Beauvais. This is the Abrego-Garcia case, and they, out of nowhere, started to whisk people away. The ACLU got wind of it and rushed into Boasberg's court for an emergency hearing. We're on a Saturday. Boasberg issues an order saying, I freeze the linebackers, don't send the people down to CCOT. And then he memorializes it in a later written order. Remember all this? That makes it even more clear. And he says, turn those planes around if they're out there. Okay. Now, back in the meantime at DOJ, there was a lot of concern and suspicion then, and it's only augmented since that the, new guys in charge, the new cabal, not even including Bondi yet, but of Emile Beauvais. Todd Blanche is still around, but Beauvais really running interference here, and it sure seemed as if they purposely told the planes while they were still in the sky, keep going until they would, first, that they launched them and then relied on the mistaken impression of law that once they're in the air, Boasberg lacked jurisdiction. Wrong. He still retained it. Then they kind of put their, see no evil, hear no evil on the actual command to turn those planes around. And then they proceeded to take them down to CCOT, but it seemed extremely fishy. And there was some indications that Emile Beauvais in particular had basically told department attorneys, we're just not going to obey court orders. If he had, that would be a flagrant sign of contempt, and just more than that, a colossal, derogation of the rule of law. You got this top dog just come in and basically telling career attorneys, don't listen to the courts. Those planes are going to land. That was the other command he supposedly did. And all this comes in front of Boasberg. Now, Boasberg is the chief judge of the district. He's extremely well respected. Law school roommate of Brett Kavanaugh, a judge's judge. And he, in a very firm way, and we're talking since March 15th, has, not let it go and wanted to see whether they had indeed committed contempt. I do not think, I know him some, I don't think it's out of any sort of pique or affront to him personally, but as the leader of that court, and remember, that's the court that was so insulted or really completely laid waste to by Trump when he comes in. They tried the 1,000+ cases of the January 6th marauders. They knew what criminals and insurrectionists they were, and with a stroke of the pen, all years and years of work just go away. I think Boasberg, sees himself as the chief judge who wants to stand steady. After this happened, the administration did a series of squirrely maneuvers. He wanted to know who gave the order, when did they give it, all these different things. And the administration gave a response that was a non-response, then gave another response that was a non-response, then said, well, this is privileged materials, then suggested it might be state secrets doctrine, although they didn't invoke the state secrets doctrine, which you have to do a lot to do. And all through this, Boasberg stayed steadfast, patient after a fashion, but made clear he is not going to just ignore this potential contempt. And if he finds it, he's going to lower the boom. And that, especially, this was back in March and April, in some ways, it seems like, rivers under the dam because they've been done so much, but in some ways only more exigent that he now make it clear they came out of the box in a contemptuous way. The judiciary must respond to that no matter how long it takes, and he is not going to cave, Boasberg. So he issued a probable cause finding of contempt, a probable cause to find contempt, and that gives rise to a hearing. The administration sought emergency relief. They drew a panel with two very conservative appointees, Trump appointees, who held that what Boseberg had done, they had to reach even to get to reversing the nature of the hold that Boseberg had put on it. You're not supposed to do it casually, and generally you're not supposed to do it at all. But they did. So they granted emergency relief, and the case then was in the Court of Appeals for 6 or 7 months with Boseberg paralyzed from continuing. Now, a few days ago, the Court of Appeals finally issued its decision en banc, and it's very, I think, clever, and it's one of these decisions, again, I always try to make clear when this happens, that the media totally whiffed on. The headline is that they refuse to undo the order, and this is a victory for the Trump administration. Wrong. They, including the progressive members on the court, given the reasoning that the Trump appointees had imposed to stay Boasberg, all of that had gone away by this point, based on subsequent developments like the return of people from Venezuela. It was all gone and not even precedential. So the most important part of this opinion en banc is there are a few dissents by progressives saying, oh, Boasberg did nothing wrong. Indeed, he did nothing wrong. But then you have a statement concerning the opinion by 3 circuit court judges, including Nina Pillard, and they basically make clear that nothing that the failure to reverse, in no way does that have any practical impact anymore. And Boasberg did nothing wrong, and he is completely free and remains completely free to go ahead and investigate this contempt, which is very old news, was already getting old news when he declined the multiple efforts by the administration to just let it go. One of them was actually, just let it go. That was sort of the legal motion, and he's not going to do it. So now it comes back to him, and that statement by the 3 judges is really significant, and it tells us what the case is about, which is you're back in business, Boasberg, and they have a whole statement for why the contempt power is so important and why it undergirds the necessity of obeying judicial orders and the like. So just a couple days after this opinion issues, he had a hearing yesterday. The administration came in and in a very high-handed, arrogant way said, you can't do this anymore. The whole thing is over and moot. And Boseberg calmly said, well, I'm interested to hear that you disagree with 6 judges of the Court of Appeals, but they've made it clear that I can, and guess what? I'm going to, and guess also what? This is a very case where they brought forward a career attorney who basically told the truth and was fired for it. He's now a whistleblower. He's now a public, he's no longer a DOJ employee, and he's going to testify here. And I think he is widely expected to say, because he's said it in public, that in fact, the worst things we suspected, Emile Beauvais did say, I don't care what happens, you ignore them. That means, by the way, Emile Beauvais lied to the Senate during his confirmation hearings. Both in saying things he didn't remember, but flat out denying that he had done this. So that reopens that can of worms, life tenure being life tenure. I don't see it his being impeached, but it's a real stain of dishonor on him. So we're back to business, and the business that really started in March, and the administration, struggled mightily to get out of it then, but then they thought they had the benefit of a favorable Court of Appeals ruling, but eventually that was just temporary. Here comes the opinion on the merits, and now Boasberg is free to move again, and it's gonna be a hearing. He's gonna call on people, and some of them are gonna fight showing up at all, and we've got the whole sort of resumption of what happened way back in March, and the very strong possibility that the evidence will show they simply were insubordinate about judicial orders and deserve to be held in contempt. Stay tuned and talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.